actually. Okay, I'm back. I had issues with my internet, so I'm back. Okay,
All right.
so our next speaker is Julia Masselos. I hope I got the pronunciation correct.
Yeah, you actually nailed it.
Okay, so
Most
you
people
are.
don't.
Oh, that's good. So you give me a thumbs up there.
Absolutely, two of them.
Okay, so Julia is our speaker for the next speaker, and can you hear me? Oh, it's off again.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Julia will take us on how to create sustainable income online using our unique experiences, our strengths, and our interests. And I believe we're going to learn a lot from her. So, Julian, the floor is yours.
Thank you. How can I share my screen or present my slides? Oh, here we go. From Google Slides. Sorry, guys. Bear with me. I've never used StreamYard before, so this is exciting. Let's see. In the meantime, can people stick in the chat who's actually interested in entrepreneurship? Just give me a little, yep, that's me, a little hands up in the chat if you are interested in being an entrepreneur in any way. Because I know this conference is about remote work in general, which can be many things. The slides are just processing. Oh, okay, cool. Looks like they're good to go. How can you guys see these slides? Can you see the first red slide?
No.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, yes, you can see it now.
All right, here we are. Nice. Great. Okay. Let me
right on.
set myself up real quick. Sorry. Okay, perfect. Great. So thanks so much for coming, guys. And I'm excited to chat to you guys. Looks like there's a lot of people who are interested in being entrepreneurs, which is amazing. I'm glad you're in the right place. We're going to talk about remote work and entrepreneurship and what forging your own path looks like and what it entails. So for our 30 minutes together, we're going to cover remote employee versus entrepreneur, what the differences there are, the three biggest limiting beliefs of aspiring entrepreneurs, secret ingredients for entrepreneur sauce, very simple. People love to overcomplicate that one. And then I'm going to share a bit about my story. I'm going to try to keep it short, but it's very, very relevant because it's basically what happened to me. And I'm going to tell you how I went from being directionless and incomeless to making $11,000 in 6 weeks, which is ridiculous. And then through that journey, I came to realize what some of the traps are of the entrepreneur life and what you can do to avoid them. So I will share with you those 3 traps and how you can avoid them when forging your own path. And finally, we're going to close off with why you are your own secret weapon. And I don't know if we're going to have time or if there's going to be some brave people in the audience, but I would love to do an interactive hot seat at the very end. So we'll see how that goes, where someone can share what their skills are. And maybe we can have a little live brainstorm of business ideas that we can just spit out like rapid fire.
Okay.
Okay, great. So entrepreneurship versus remote employee. Now, I made these slides. Some of them are going to look a little funny because I made them with like animation so that they pop up at different times. So some of them might look a bit cluttered, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Basically, entrepreneurship and remote employees. So the thing is, when you are a remote employee, you are granted location freedom, which is up there at the top of the pyramid, right? The thing is that when you are an entrepreneur, you can have location freedom as well as time freedom, and you can get yourself on the path to financial freedom as well. And at that point, you're kind of like what some people like to say, out of the matrix. Did my slides disappear?
You can no longer see your screen. You can share it again, please. Okay.
There we go.
It's up, yeah. You can see it now.
Yeah, so basically, I myself was a remote employee. I had location freedom. I was lucky enough to work for one of the few companies that actually also offered you time freedom. So I could work at any time too, even though I was part of a company, even though I was an employee, just because it was set up asynchronously on purpose. And that's awesome. But the reality is that companies like that are few and far between. So that's why I shifted over to entrepreneurship, because I wanted all three of these. I'm greedy, what can I say? You only got one life, you know? So I really wanted to see if I could make entrepreneurship work. I've already asked you how many want to be entrepreneurs, so we can just skip to the next part. And I want to hear from you guys. I've got a list of questions I'm going to rattle off. Just ping in the comments if anything resonates. Let's get some action going. So of you guys who want to be entrepreneurs, or who maybe already are and have started, how many of you are waiting for permission from someone else? And I've been guilty of every single thing that's coming up on the screen, so there's absolutely no shame in this game. Waiting for permission from someone else to start a social media account, to talk about your products, to start selling, to call people and see if you need manufacturing or whatever it is that you might need, just to get in the game. It's a huge blocker. How many of you feel like you're not smart enough to be entrepreneurs? The idea of, oh, business owner, it just has such weight and it's just such a big thing, and oh, only certain kinds of people can do that, and I'm just not smart enough to do that, and XYZ thing held me back in my life, so I can't do that. Does that resonate with anyone? I feel this like every week. Someone said no. Okay, good for you. That's great. Does anybody feel like you're not disciplined enough to be, you know, a CEO, a business owner, an entrepreneur? Like, you know, you hear about these 5 a.m. wake ups of these like crazy entrepreneurs that like, yeah, I ice bath for an hour and then I hit the gym for 2 hours and then this and that. And you're just like, this is ridiculous. I could never do that. Not disciplined enough.
Yeah, I feel that way too.
I'm with you. And by the way, that is, I mean, this is a tangent, but that is like one model of success. I'm not hating on those people. If that's what you got to do to get yourself in the mind to do what you got to do to be who you need to be, then do that. But it's definitely not true that everyone who wants to be successful has to do that to be successful, right? That's the beauty. We're all different. We can all do different things. Who's scared of wasting their time with their journey, you know, because you don't see many rewards when you start a business. You don't see the money pouring in. It's a lot of hours with no reward, and that could be seen as wasted time. I put it in quotes because I don't believe time is ever wasted. Anyone scared of wasting your time? Let me know in the chat. And lastly, you're terrified of what others think. You're just so scared of what someone from your hometown or from your school or your classmates, your workmates, your family, some random person on the internet, what are they going to say about your opinions and about your products and about what you're trying to sell, and who do you think you are, and I don't deserve to be doing this, and all this kind of chatter in your head, right?
Yeah, I think this is the biggest challenge people have, the imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome is huge.
Say? Yeah, exactly.
It's
what
huge.
Would others say about this? Yeah,
the worst thing is that it doesn't go away. That's the biggest lie. It doesn't go away. It just gets,
it doesn't.
You just get better at handling it, but it never goes away.
Exactly. Yeah, never. Every new challenge comes with doubts. Every new challenge comes with doubts.
You looked ahead at the slides, didn't you?
I didn't have to.
Right?
Yeah, it does.
Doubt is always going to be present in your entrepreneurial journey. That is never going to go away either. And so you might think, oh my God, well, that means that I can just never be an entrepreneur. Like, it's just not going to happen. These doubts are insane. But the thing is that they were a completely normal part of the process. So does that mean that you can't be a great entrepreneur, even if you have all these doubts? There's your answer. Of course not. Of course not. Everyone has it. And it doesn't go away.
It doesn't go away.
No. You might have, it's in waves, right? So you have waves where you feel like you're the hottest shit ever. You feel like you've got it all figured out. Everything is going great. Everything's perfect. And one email comes in and it all crashes down and you're like, oh crap, what am I doing? I have no idea what I'm doing. This is never going to work. I was so delusional. Why did I think that this would work? And then you cry to your friend for like an hour. You go out, have a bottle of wine. And then the next day, another email comes through and you're like, oh, I am the queen of the world. Of course I can do this. It's a roller coaster, right? So the doubts do not negate your abilities. This is where the slides start getting a little funky because I tried to get funky with doing things on Google Slides and I didn't realize it wouldn't translate onto here. So apologies, but I do have it up on my other screen so I can just walk you through it. These are the 3 biggest limiting beliefs of aspiring entrepreneurs that I have sort of condensed, the 3 biggest buckets. after talking to about 200 aspiring entrepreneurs since the beginning of the year, because that's what I do. I like coach people to get them to a place where they can have a fully location independent online business, right? So number one is they don't think they have the skills. They don't think they have the skills they need to be able to be an entrepreneur, right? They don't think that they have a good enough idea. That's number two, that's behind the little man. And the little man is there just saying that all of this is BS, basically. They don't think they have a good enough idea. Yeah, I'd be an entrepreneur. I think I'd really like the lifestyle. I like working for myself. I can work hard. I'm dedicated, but I just don't have any good ideas. That's BS number two, right? And the last one is they think it is too risky. They prefer to be secure. I can't tell you how many times I get on calls with people and they're like, okay, yeah, I'd love to travel long term. I'd love to be fully remote and nomadic. I'd love to not be tied to a location, but I need like a secure and stable income. And I'm like, okay, number one, entrepreneurs never have stable income. Every month is different. You're not an employee getting a check every month. You are making different revenue every month, depending on a lot of different things, depending on your tactics, on your strategies, on your overhead costs, depending on seasonality, depending on so many different things, on trends on the internet, like, you know. And I would also, and that doesn't mean that it has to be risky, because there are ways that you can sort of manage your revenue, even if it is up and down, but that's a whole other topic, which we're not getting into today. What I want to say to you guys is, do you remember those tech layoffs a few months ago that everyone was like, what? Do you remember those huge tech layoffs like 2 years ago?
Sure, some of my friends were.
That's
Right. And that was from massive household names, nobody, like too big to fail, like they're reputable. That's also not secure. From one day to the next, they fired people over a Zoom call that had been there for 17 years. So that's also not really secure. Anything can happen. The only thing that really makes a difference here is one of these secret sauce ingredients. Again, these were supposed to come up one by one on the screen. Sorry, guys. So I'm going to come back to those in a second. The secret sauce for being a great entrepreneur is two things. People overcomplicate it so much. You need two things. You need a skill that can make someone else's life easier. You need to solve someone else's problem, right? That's it. And the value that you give by solving that problem needs to be worth more than you charge to have that done. If I charge $10,000 to make you a website, or $100,000 to make you a website, maybe that doesn't really make sense. You're like, I'll just figure it out myself. I'd rather do that. But if I charge you like $2,000 to make your website, then you're like, okay, that kind of maybe makes a bit more sense. And you're like, the value that I would have of having the website is way more than $2,000, so I'm happy to pay it. That's it. That's it. That's all you need. That's the only thing you need. And then the second thing you need is the self-belief and the self-trust to not get in your own way. And that is the biggest key, and that's going to be the focus of the chunk of this presentation. That's where 99% of people fall down. Because anyone can learn a skill. Anyone can talk to a group of people and figure out what their problem is, and then go learn a skill that can solve that problem. I mean, most of you probably speak multiple languages. You had to learn them at some point. You all learned to walk. You all learned how to drive a car. You all learned whatever skill you use in your normal job, right? That you didn't know how to do when you were a teenager, right? So why wouldn't you not be able to learn some kind of skill that would be able to build your business, right? The trick is the self-belief, because if we go back to this slide, these limiting beliefs disappear if you fully trust yourself, but like really trust yourself. And that's really hard. It's by no means am I saying that's easy. There's a difference between simple and easy, right? It's simple because it's like, it's just one thing you have to do. You just have to trust yourself, but it's not easy. So if you trust yourself, the first one is not going to be an issue. You don't think you have the skills. You're going to say, all right, maybe I don't have the skills, but I trust that I can figure it out, right? The second one, I don't think I have a good idea. But if you trust yourself, you're like, all right, maybe I don't have the best idea ever, but what I have is good enough to start, and I trust that I will figure it out as I go, and I will iterate, and I will meet people, and I will rub shoulders, and I will take messy action, and that will get me to an awesome idea. Or it will show me the idea was crap, and it'll save me time, and it'll take me in a totally different direction, and something else that's genius is going to come out that never would have come out if I hadn't gone down that path to begin with. But I trust myself that it's all going to be fine. Same thing on the third one. It's all going to be fine. The risk doesn't seem so big when you fully trust yourself. So with that covered, who am I to talk about all this? Like, why am I qualified? Why am I here, right? So, hello, I'm Julia. I'm 27 right now. I'm a full-time traveler and entrepreneur. You can find me on socials at JetSetterJulia. I've been to 5 continents in the last year alone, over 30 countries in my lifetime. And I am an ex-remote employee and an ex office employee, right? I have felt the call to travel since I was about 16. And I figured out what a nomad was when I was still in high school. And I was like, I want to be this. Fast forward a few years, I actually landed that fully remote job that I mentioned to you guys earlier that was luckily very time free as well. So I was not locked onto my computer from 9 to 5. I was able to take the whole day off if I wanted and then work 6 to 10 p.m. or something. There was absolutely no controls on what times I was working as long as I was delivering what I had to deliver, which in my opinion, I think everything should be that way. We're all adults. We're all responsible. It's fine. But the thing is that I wanted even more flexibility and authority over my life and my work. So I'm gonna tell you about my journey. This is me at that time. I might look like I'm having a great time, and it was amazing to travel so much and have that quote unquote security of that paycheck from the remote job. But underneath it all, after a while, I realized I was very stressed and anxious, and I didn't really feel challenged in the job. I did at the beginning because there was a steep learning curve. But once I sort of learned what I had to learn, I stagnated and I got really bored. I was very disinterested in the industry that I was in. I was not in the right industry. And I always felt a call to entrepreneurship. Even though I suffered all those doubts that we tackled at the beginning, I suffered from and still do suffer from. They don't go away, all of them. But I've always felt called to entrepreneurship. And so I proudly say that I'm a quitter because I want to reclaim that word. And I think it's important that people who want to be and are entrepreneurs reclaim that word, because quitting has such a negative connotation. It has a connotation of a lack of discipline, which is one of those things that we talked about earlier, is an insecurity of a lot of people, right? Oh, I can't do this because I don't have the discipline. But for me, what a quitter is somebody who doesn't stay where they know they don't want to be. If I know I don't want to be in an office, why am I here? I quit. If I know I don't want to be in this industry, even though I am working remotely, why am I here? I quit. Same goes for everything in life. I know I don't want to be in this relationship. What am I doing here? I quit. I'm out. It's not a bad thing. It's redirection towards your ultimate joy, basically. And your joy will change, but that's fine. You just have to follow the current like a river, right? Oh, these pictures did not come up right. Oh no. Oh well. I was going to show you all these pretty pictures of where I went because I gave myself space to breathe. I quit that job. I was craving to live a bit more off grid, and I didn't really want to have to be connected to Wi-Fi. So I quit that job. I quit all my freelancing stuff I was doing at the same time. And I went to Patagonia, which is that picture that you can see of me with the mountains. And I was there for a month, and there was no internet, and it was amazing. And I started making TikToks about my travels because I gave myself a 6-month period where I was like, okay, I'm going to just allow myself to not worry about work and not worry about making money and just live off my savings that I was very fortunate enough to be able to save through that previous job. And I'll figure it out as I go. This is just going to be a little vacation for me. So I started making TikToks about my travels because I was traveling a lot and I had a lot to say. And it was just for fun. I had no intention of building a business or monetizing it in any way. So I went all over the place. I had pictures here of Texas, of Berlin, of Indonesia, and of Australia. And when I got to Australia, I kind of fell into a bit of a dark hole. I had been about 7 or 8 months into this, what was supposed to be a 6-month sort of sabbatical. I had always had so many interests at once, and I never felt like I had a focus or a discipline to be able to focus in on one thing and master it and be an expert in it. And it caused me a lot of grief because I had, through the last 3 years or so, thrown myself into different projects on the side of whatever my main income was, just because I like a challenge and I like to learn new things. And I would be super excited and I'd be like, this is it, this is the thing. And after 2 months, I'd be like, no, I'm so over it. I don't want to even open my computer anymore. And that really got me down. So I made a TikTok about it, and I was basically crying and being all sad and asking people for help because I had also, as you can see in that photo, that's a screenshot of the TikTok. I self-diagnosed myself with ADHD, as I feel like half of the world did last year, thanks to TikTok. And so I was just asking that community for help because I was like, hey, I'm a newbie. I don't really get ADHD, but I think I have it, and here's how it's affecting me. And if anyone has advice, please help. And that blew up. And that is how my mentor came to me, this woman who is a entrepreneur coach for people with ADHD brains. And she was like, we need to work together. I can help you. And like I said to you, I had no intention of building a business whatsoever. It was not on my radar. It was not in my plans. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just assumed that I would freelance, or maybe I would go back to a different remote job in a different industry. But we did that. And we worked together for 4 months. And with her, I learned so much about forging my path and about entrepreneurship and about all the gifts that I already had inside me, right? And so this, I don't know if it will play. This is meant to be a little video. It's a little clip. I worked with her and I figured out what my passions were, what my interest was, how being interested in many different things actually is a blessing and it's not a curse. And I don't have to be an expert in one thing. I can be a generalist. I can be a multi-passionate, which is apparently like a word that if you Google it, there's a lot of like literature and psychology stuff and like content creators and coaches and everything talking about being multi-passionate. Let me know in the comments if you've heard of multi-passionate and if that resonates with you, because if it does and you have not heard of it, run, don't walk over there, because you're going to get so much validation from that. Let me see. I don't think this is going to play. No. Oh, it was just a little video of me crying when I closed my first client. And I thought it was going to be cute to show like how much it means to entrepreneurs and small business owners when things go well and when you kick off. Like, it's not just, oh, let's make some money and live on a beach. It's real. Like, anyway, that's not going to play. But I closed my first client within 2 weeks of launching.
You have it on your TikTok?
Sorry?
Do you have it on your TikTok, the video?
No, it's a private video. It's an exclusive
okay.
to you guys.
Okay. Please, I would love to have it. Let me see it myself.
We'll see. But basically, I wanted to say that I launched my one-on-one coaching program, which I had forged with this mentor of mine. And it was based on all of the things that I loved and all the things that I was good at. And within 2 weeks of announcing it on my TikTok, I got a client. And the video is of me like freaking out and sending a message to my mom, basically crying and being like, I got a client. This is so crazy. And within 3 weeks of launching, 6 weeks of launching, I had 3 clients, which is just insane. It was ridiculous because for me, I was like, oh, why would somebody pay me to like talk to them? That's just wild. But fast forward to today, that was like in March, April of this year. Fast forward to today, I've grown to a community of over 25,000 people on social media with huge impact every single day. People telling me that they love and are learning so much from the content, that they are changing their lives, that they are taking it into their own hands, that they are feeling empowered. And my clients have done insane things. Like, one of them took their first ever international solo trip, and it's not like close by. She went from California to Thailand by herself. Like, that's huge. That's insane. So this is a girl who has never traveled by herself, ever.
Wow. And
she went and she told me that she booked that ticket after one call with me where we talked about limiting beliefs. I was floored. I didn't even believe it. I was like, what? So it's been a crazy trajectory. And this is the power of figuring out your own power and not being scared and trusting yourself to share it with the world and forge your own path. Right? I've had international news coverage in some of these places that you might recognize. And this very much looks like I'm bragging on this page, but it's not the purpose of this slide. The purpose of this slide is to show you how you are doing a disservice to the world by keeping all of your gifts within you. If you share them outwardly, the impact you can have is insane. And these are people who decided to leave a comment. I'm sure there's many people who decided not to say anything, but took something away anyway. So you will never know the true reach of your impact. I could have never done any of this without trusting myself. I couldn't have done it without my mentor. I couldn't have done it without taking messy action, because that's the only place that clarity comes from. You cannot think your way to a perfect business. You have to act and make mistakes and pivot and change your mind and learn as you go. And the best thing too, for me, it was very healing on a personal level, because that video about me crying about my ADHD and having a million different interests, it kind of came full circle, because every single different interest that I've had and experience that I've had in the professional world, in marketing, in design, in event coordinating, in sales, in external calls, in content creation, in writing articles, all of this came together, and I I used every single part of my past experience in building this business, which was such a huge like healing moment for me, as you can imagine, of being like, oh, it's okay to not be an expert in one thing. And now today I'm stimulated and learning every single day. I'm excited about what I'm building. I'm having a huge impact on people and I'm loving that. And I have total time and location freedom. Still working on the financial freedom part. So with all that said, we're coming to the last part of the presentation. These are the 3 traps that you need to avoid when you're forging your own path that I have learned, and I have only learned them by actually living this path, right? Firstly, comparing yourself to others, and I am still guilty of all 3 of these. I very much do not want to be on any kind of pedestal. I'm just like you guys and still like struggling with the same things. So number 1 is comparing yourself to others. When you see that, I don't know, you're talking about a topic in your content and someone else who's also in your niche talks about the same topic and they get a huge success on their reel or whatever and you don't, that can feel really shit. Or when they share income report of the quarter and they're like, oh, I made, I don't know, $60,000 this quarter. And you're like, what? I made like 2, like what? You know what I mean? Or whatever the discrepancy is. That is the best way to kill your desire to keep going, right? If you're anything like me, I'm sure there's people who see that and that's what really motivates them. But for me, I find it a huge trigger, probably because I need to work on something. But anyway, what I'm doing right now to deal with that is an affirmation along these lines. So each of these traps has an affirmation and an action to go with it. So the affirmation is first to regulate yourself, right? You need to regulate yourself because you cannot take action from a dysregulated place. So first things first, comparison is the thief of joy. I dismiss any thoughts that rob me of my joy. My journey is unfolding exactly as it should, and I'm grateful for all the learning. Other people's success just means success is possible for me too. And that last one is a huge shift because that is you focusing on an abundance mindset. It's the idea that if someone is killing the game in the same niche as you, that doesn't mean that there's less pie left over for you. It means amazing. They have validated the freaking market. Great, now I can go in guns blazing with confidence that this is gonna work. I just have to figure out the formula, you know? There's someone in my niche who is doing the same thing as me and is killing it. She's made $500,000 in the last 3 years, which is insane. And I could see that and be like, oh my God, she's scooping up all the clients. There's none left for me. But I don't see it like that. I see it as like, oh, great. That means that there are clients for this service. I just need to find them in my own way. Or have a little secret sauce that is like the juju touch that makes them come to me instead of her. You know what I mean? But there's people who want this service. So that's great. So the action then to follow that is unfollow all the accounts that rob you of your joy, period. It's too precious. Immerse yourself in inspiring stuff instead. And then love on yourself. Reflect to where you were a month ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, however you want to measure your milestones, and look at how far you've come. Compare yourself to past you. That's always going to be way more motivating than comparing you to someone else. Number 2. Trap number 2 is letting external factors determine your mood. This is hard, and this is something I've learned recently, and I'm still working through. This is when maybe you've had a high, maybe your ebook or your whatever product you have is selling really great for a couple weeks and you're like, oh my God, amazing, look at me, I am the shit, this is so awesome. And then it just tanks and you don't know why. You haven't changed anything, your content's still running great, everything's cool, but people just aren't buying like they used to. That could get you really down. That could make you doubt yourself. That could make you want to go back and change something. Tinkering is just going to confuse your audience if it's not intentional and it's not strategic. Tinkering out of panic is just going to cause you more problems. So don't let that temptation come in when you feel disheartened by external numbers, factors, comments, whatever it may be. Don't let your own value be determined by what is going on in the noise in the external world. You have to be 100% in your core, like embodied, that what you have to offer is valuable, period. It just is because it is. It is valuable because you trust yourself, you trust that what you have made and what you offer and what you're putting your time and energy into is valuable. Just because the sales don't reflect that doesn't mean it's not true. Just because your community isn't growing as fast as you want doesn't mean it's not true, you know? So the affirmation for that is external factors do not affect the value of my offering. I believe in my work. I believe in my impact. I believe in my mission, and that's what keeps me going, period. The sales don't keep me going. That's, my mentor used to say, money is just a thank you for a job well done. So just keep going and keep making quality stuff and it will come. The action is practicing gratitude. In these moments of frustration, it's okay to feel frustration. I want you to feel every emotion that comes up in this roller coaster of entrepreneurship. Don't try to press any of them down. Feel them, but you don't have to react to them. Feel the frustration. But instead of reacting in the frustration and being like, okay, well, that means I have to change this and I have to change that. And maybe if I did this, my sales would be better. And maybe if my landing page was red instead of blue, it would be better and whatever. No, feel the frustration and center yourself right now in the present. What have you already accomplished that you can be grateful for? Right? What has your business brought to your life that you can be grateful for? For example, my business has allowed me to be able to go to the pool and spend the day at the pool on a Wednesday with my partner and come home and work for a few hours in the evening because I can. I don't have to go to some office in some random place, and I'm super grateful for that. It allows me to buy the cheapest flight to my next destination because I don't need to worry about constraints of, I can only fly on Friday night or Saturday when it's super expensive. I can fly literally Tuesday morning if I want to. And I'm really grateful for that. And those are wins, and you need to take them into account. Okay, the last one. Believing someone else always knows better. This is the number one way to rob you of your own self-trust. You are cheating yourself big time if you are always running to someone else for advice instead of tuning into yourself first. Now, that's not to say that you can't have mentors. I would be the biggest hypocrite to say that because number one, I am a mentor now. And number two, it was a mentor that changed my life. So there you go. But I really think that if you are constantly believing someone else knows better, how that's going to manifest in your behavior is you're teaching yourself that you don't trust yourself. You trust someone else more than you trust yourself. You trust an Instagram page more than you trust yourself. You trust a coach more than you trust yourself. You trust your parents more than you trust yourself. Your colleague more than yourself. It's detrimental to everything that we've talked about. And those limiting beliefs that we covered earlier are just going to stay there and gain force if you don't silence them with your own trust. And the other way it's going to manifest is you're going to stay in student mode way too long and you are going to delay taking action. And like we've clarified, action is the only thing that leads to clarity. And the only thing that leads to sales and the only thing that leads to impact. So if you stay in student mode too long, you will stagnate and you will overcomplicate and get in your own head, and you will get less and less likely to take action because you're like, oh, just one more course. Oh, maybe that person didn't teach it so well. Maybe if I get the same thing from this other person, I will learn what I wanted to learn. Haven't you guys been guilty of that pattern? Because I definitely have. I actually almost bought a course yesterday and then I was like, Julia, snap out of it. You got this. So the affirmation for this is, I am capable, smart, and resourceful. I will make mistakes. It's part of the game, of course you will. But I will also learn from them and grow. No one can replace my unique mix of quirks, interests, and expertise. No one can replace my unique mix of quirks, interests, and expertise. And the action there is to listen to your gut. In moments of doubt, stop, breathe, listen to your intuition. It will be guiding you. Even if you don't understand why it's guiding you, where it's guiding you, honor it anyway. That's self-trust, and that is the hard part. That is so hard. If your gut is screaming at you to go left when everything logical tells you to go right, you're like, obviously I'm going to go right. It will bite you in the ass eventually. Oh, your intuition is always right. It's amazing. It's insane. So go left. Even if you don't know why you're going left, be like, oh, my stomach told me to, so I'm going left. And it will make sense at some point. And actually, I made these slides yesterday. And last night, after I had finished them, I was lying in bed and I saw there's this one sort of business coach that I follow on Instagram who has made a $20 billion business, which is insane. And her latest post was talking about this exact thing. She was like, how I stay in high energy or high frequency, whatever it is. It's because I follow my gut even when I don't know where it's taking me. And I was like, damn, we came to the same conclusion, girl. Only difference is I don't have $20 billion. So I guess there must be some truth to that. All right, and this is the last big chunk I want to talk to you guys about, just in case you haven't realized why self-trust is so important. This is the virtuous cycle of self-trust. This is my patented cycle that I've concocted through talking to so many people and living it myself. So it starts at the dark blue arrow where it says unshakable trust in yourself. That's where we start. We're working backwards to see how everything falls into place once we have that unshakable trust. If you have unshakable trust in yourself, it becomes way easier to be confident in forging your own path, right? If you are confident in forging your own path, then, all of the societal rules about what is valuable and what is not valuable, and how you should spend your time and how you shouldn't spend your time, they become a lot quieter and your internal voice becomes a lot louder. And it gives you the permission to lean on your strengths and your skills and your interests, even if they're things that conventionally you're like, oh, but that won't make me money. Oh, but that's not high value. Oh, but that's not. There is an audience everywhere for everything. You can make money with everything. You can have impact with everything. Your story needs to be heard by someone. You don't know who that person is, but it needs to be heard. How many of you have watched something on social media that you're like, holy shit, I don't know who you are, but I'm so freaking glad you made this video. Even if you didn't even like it, you didn't even put a comment on it, nothing. But you saw something and you were like, huh, I needed to see that. I needed to hear that, right? Imagine if that person hadn't made that video. I mean, maybe you even forgot what it was now, but it's happened to all of us. In that moment, it brought you peace. In that moment, it brought you clarity. Maybe it even changed the trajectory of your life. There's a woman that I'm following that I would recommend all of you follow if you don't already. Her name is Glow Graphics. She's wonderful. And she's one of those people that I saw one post and I was like, damn, and I've been following her since 2016. She's changed niches like 6 times. I'm still here because her insights are insane. Anyway, I am on Glow Graphics without the W, just GLO, because her name is Gloria. GLO Graphics. Anyway, so yeah, if you are confident to forge your path, you will lean on your strengths, skills, and interests. And it can be like crocheting. You know, people are like, oh, data and AI. And it's like, yes, that stuff is necessary to stay up to date and all that kind of stuff with the way the world is going. But that doesn't mean that you can't still make money. I don't know, thrifting vintage clothes or crocheting stuff for pets and selling it. Or like, I don't know, carbon neutral, like soy milk for like vegan babies. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up, right? Like there is a market for all of that, right? So lean on your strengths and skills, even if it's not quote unquote traditionally like, you know, lawyer, doctor, engineer kind of vibes. When you do that, it's going to be much easier for you to show up authentically. You're not going to be forcing much. You're not going to be forcing anything, actually, because you just get to show up and talk about shit that you love, like I'm doing right now, and I'm freaking loving it. And I hope you are too. So let me know in the comments if you are. Show me some love. It's going to make it much easier to show up authentically. And when you show up authentically, you will connect emotionally with other people in your industry, with other professionals, but most importantly, with your community, with your audience. Those are your future clients. And when you connect emotionally, it makes sales much easier. And one of the biggest things that people and entrepreneurs have against sales is it feels slimy. It feels, ew, I don't want to talk about money. It feels like, oh, I don't want to take your money. It feels dirty. It feels under the table. I don't know. I don't like it, right? But if you reframe it to, we have connected emotionally and I will give you something of huge value, and the thank you handshake you give me has a bit of cash in it. It's a win-win situation. You're happy to part with it because the value I'm giving you is bigger than the amount of money that you're giving me. So it works for you, and I'm getting some money, and you're having a great time having impact and getting to where you want to be in your life. So it's a win for me too, right? And that's the virtuous cycle of self-trust. Okay. Oh, this was meant to come up at different times too, but just last bit that I want to say to close off before we go to questions is that you are your own secret weapon. I hope I have made that clear. Your potential, your skills, and your impact is your secret weapon, and that's all inside of you. You don't need any equipment. You don't need any validation from anything external. There's no rule book, and that's the part that trips most people up. We're so used to living life with a rule book. School has a rule book. Corporate world has a rule book. Even the way you maintain your house, there is some kind of loose rule book, like not officially, but like there's ways to do things in the world, right? There's ways to behave in society. Entrepreneurship, there isn't really any rules. Okay, there's like ethics, obviously. Don't be a shitty person with shady tactics, but you get to make it up, really. And if it works, it works. No one can tell you you're wrong, right? So if you honor and you trust your potential skills and impact, you've already won. If you harness them, you've already won. But if you doubt them, you've already lost. That's the thing. So the choice is yours. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you so much. We learned about the psychology of success, and I believe if we go through these paths, we will definitely succeed. I appreciate you so much. We've learned a lot from you, Julia. We learned a lot from you. I do not know. I can't find any questions here in the comments.
Okay.
The only question here
Can I
is,
say something?
Okay, you can.
Okay. Julia, thank you very much. Like I can't say thank you enough. I didn't know that was a thing. You know, when you were talking about being an expert in a lot of things. I am currently in that particular situation and I have been hiding. You see, thanks to Mr. David, who showed limelight into the data analysis thing, I know for certain that I want to do data science, right? And I'm working towards it and everything. But the truth is, I can also paint. I'm an amateur painter. I can code HTML and CSS. I can, build some applications using Flutter Flow and that. I am a teacher also. There are so many things I can do, but I have to hide them because I'm ashamed. The entire world goes jack of all trades, master of none. So for a while, in fact, I've even stopped painting. Right now, I have like 3 canvas in my house. My paint is there. I've not touched it for a while. I'm just focusing on my data science, my data analysis, because I want to concentrate on one. And the truth is, when I put all these emotions in something and I get to know it, I get bored easily. Just before this started, I was actually working on my portfolio and building a site that was going to house it. And I was enjoying it, and I'm enjoying data analysis, and I'm hoping to be a data scientist. But I've been hiding because I can't do so much. I shouldn't be doing so much. I should not. That's the phrase. I should not be doing all these things. I should just focus on one and run with it. And people have even told me, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Why can't you do this? Why don't you just focus on one? Otherwise, you will not, be good at anyone. And then you come up here and you just tore everything apart. Like, thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. Really, thank you.
I resonate so much with what you have shared. Thank you. If I could just speak to that. I resonate deeply with that, because that was what I felt when I was in that deep dark hole in Australia that I mentioned in my presentation. Is I felt it actually came from watching Suits. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the TV show Suits about the lawyers. And I was just watching and I was like, this seems so cool. Like, I want to be, I don't know, like in some like highly ambitious, intelligent like space with other ambitious, intelligent people, and just be like really good at what I do and be with other people that are good at what they do. And like, we work late because we love it. And like, we're so engrossed with it. And it's just like really driving up. And it really, really kind of tore me apart for a few weeks, because I was like, I know that I'm not that person. Like, as much as I want to be that person, I'm not that person, because I was in an office and I left it. I chose to leave, and I was working long hours, and I was with an amazing team that were super capable and smart and ambitious. And I left, and I'm like, if I left once, I'm going to leave again. So there's no point going that way. But it really felt like I was grieving someone that I could have been. And I wanted to speak to a couple of the things that you said specifically. You know that the rest of that quote, right, is actually in our favor. Jack of all trades, but master of none will always be better than master of one. That's the full quote.
Wow. Wow. I like that.
That's the full. And doctor's orders, I have a book I'm prescribing to you. It's called, and anyone else that resonates with that story, it's called Refuse to Choose by Barbara Sher, S-H-E-R. And it is incredible. I think that she is the woman, I will put it in the chat, Refuse to Choose by Barbara Sher. She is the woman who coined the term multi-passionate. And I got everything that I needed out of that book by reading the first 3 chapters. I didn't even finish it, full disclosure, because it's so validating. It's like healing. It's like you're hearing things about your brain that only you thought that only you knew that. And then you're reading it in this book and you're like, holy shit. And it's so validating. And that itself is very healing. And that was all the validation I needed to just like keep running. So I didn't even read the rest of it, but that's okay. I think that's fine. I think you don't have to finish a book just to finish a book. So check it out. And already when you were talking about your skill set, that's awesome. Like, follow what brings you joy, right? Like, okay, everyone's got to eat, so we all got to make some kind of money, but the long-term vision can always be something else. I mean, you said you can code, you do art, there's already an overlap there. You're going into data science and you teach too. So I'm thinking like, this is kind of cool because this is what the hot seat thing that I wanted to do, like what I envisioned. So thank you for bringing it into reality. Like, I don't know if you could think of something like, what if you like painted your art and then made a program that when you press a button, it like codes it. I don't know anything about coding. It like codes it and it appears on the screen digitally too. And you could do like art installations like that. And you can harness your data science to like, I don't know, maybe analyze a whole bunch of different like art from a certain area or a certain time period and do like a really cool installation, just like using, I don't know, you can pick out what the most used like what the characteristics are of that kind of art or whatever, and you can teach it to people and do workshops. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just like spitballing. You could make content analyzing art and being like, what would this look like if we, I don't know, manipulated it with this kind of code that I can do? I don't know. My point is there's a lot of overlap between art and code. I'm not an expert in that, but I don't know. Take a look into it and don't listen to the people who are like, you need to pick one path. The world is not designed for people like us, like multi-passionate people are kind of the anomalies a lot of the time, and it can lead to a lot of trauma, which is very valid, which is why that book is really recommended. And my mentor used to say that ADHD brains, I use multi-passionate and ADHD kind of interchangeably. I know that's not really technically the thing, but she always says ADHD brains are not like, the world is not made for ADHD brains, but ADHD brains are made to change the world. And I kind of think that includes multi-passionates as well.
Oh, thank you so much, Julia. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Yeah, we thank you. Thank you so much.
I
think
I didn't know I need you. Need you in my life.
I'm here. Let's be friends.
Yes, this is the problem. I believe a lot of people have. A lot of people have so many ideas, but putting it into perspective or focusing on one at a time is always a problem for a lot of people. So you dissecting in this way, I believe it will help provide clarity to a lot of people. So thank you so much. Mr. David, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, trust me, Julia. You and I just started a relationship, and I'm trying to make sure, and I'm going to make sure that I follow it up to the latter. You have so much to offer. I'm thinking of coming over to become your very next client, because I do have a lot of things that I'm trying to get some clarity about, and I see from your slides and your sharing. I mean, everybody here, to be honest, everybody here, or at least a lot of people here, would be happy to be in a situation where they can work from anywhere in the world. Just pack your bags, go to Malta, go to Mauritius, go to Portugal, go to Australia. As long as you have that digital nomad visa or whatever, and start working. So guys, try to connect with Julia on Instagram and TikTok. She's very active on TikTok. In fact, I was trying to look out for your photo on Instagram, and I spoke to one of my team members. I was like, nah, Julia doesn't look like a picture person. You mostly see videos on Instagram and TikTok, and that's where we were able to get one of your photos. And thank you so much for accepting to make this presentation. We'll definitely keep in touch, and we'll also introduce you to some of our students who would definitely need those services and that one-on-one meeting with you, hopefully in future.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for having me and reaching out. That was a